Welcome to another exciting edition of the Anoki Uncensored Show, folks, where we continue our spotlight on Anoki's 20th anniversary sponsors and partners. Today, I'm pleased to share that I will be chatting with the fabulous Dilys de Cruz, the Senior Vice President, Wealth and Financial Planning for Meridian Credit Union, who presented the Anoki Emerald Brunch this June. Hello, you fabulous lady, you. Thank you for coming on.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, we are going to have a fabulous conversation. And, you know, I can't wait to kind of share a little bit about your journey, Dilys, because I feel it's really important for people to understand who they're speaking with and not just the title. And then I want to also kind of delve quite deeply into the incredible opportunities that Meridian Credit Union has to offer to maximize our South Asian community's wealth health. So are you ready to go into that deeply?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. So let's start, Dilys, by just giving people some sort of context around your journey. You came to Meridian after a 25-year-long career in the financial industry, in traditional banking, etc., and are one of Canada's highest positioned women in this industry, not to mention South Asian woman, which is an even more rare commodity. You're hearing this, guys, right here. We are very, very excited to be speaking with Dilys because she is, you know, very rare in the financial industry, actually anywhere in North America. How many of our South Asian women are actually at those kinds of heights? So we are going to get real insights into how she actually got into that and what is it that people need to know about financial confidence. And let's share all the wonderful things that make Meridian Credit Union unique in their value proposition to our community. So I'd like to start by asking you, Dilys, to share a bit about your background, because you are an immigrant success story like many of us are. And I want people to kind of understand a little bit about that part of your life. Like, where did you come from? Who is Dilys? And let's start there. I think that's the perfect positioning for us to get into this conversation.
Yeah, no, I would love to start there. So I am a first generation South Asian, born in Pakistan, Lahore, Pakistan, or Pakistan is what I should say, because my Canadian accent's kicking in. My heritage is Goan. So my family, our roots go back to Goa. So that is really my cultural background is Goan. And so we moved to Canada when I was a toddler. I was like little. And we moved to Montreal. And so we were immigrants. You know, my dad was fortunate enough to land a job before he came here. My mom was stay at home, and I have a brother that's 5 years older. And so I grew up an immigrant. I was a little brown kid. I was like an immigrant, you know, new to the country, and watched my dad work really hard to support his family. My mom was staying at home, and so I really can identify. I mean, all the years I come across very Canadian, and I may not look South Asian, but my roots and my whole life experience is as an immigrant. And so, it's really nice nowadays from that perspective. And we were just talking about this, how society now is just embracing diversity, where we can talk about who we are, and we can make jokes about ourselves, but we can talk about and feel comfortable with who we were. It wasn't like that when you were young, when I was young. And so it's so nice to be in that space. And then a little bit more about me, moving away from the South Asian part. I am a single mom of 3. My kids are grown now. The youngest is in university, 19 years old. My daughter is 23, and my eldest is 26, another boy, 2 boys and a girl. And now that they're older and I'm, single and done my duty almost, I don't think you ever do your duty fully with your kids. They're always going to be there. I'm now exploring going on big travel adventures. Now it's time for me to explore. And I
love that.
Africa. I did an African safari last year in Tanzania. I went to Uganda, did a hike with the gorillas, and then I landed on the beach in Zanzibar. So
I love that trip.
Oh, it was amazing. It was life-changing. I did that by myself. So that was really big and enlightening. Wow. And this year's trip is Vietnam. So there you go. A little bit about me.
Oh my gosh, there's just so much about you, Dilys. Let's talk a little bit about what led to your foray into the finance industry. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I got out of university. Who gets out of university and says they want to be a banker? No, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there are some people, but I did a degree. I went to University of Western. I have a degree in economics, so I do have that background. And I worked in a few industries. I worked in the auto industry before I started working. It was a really tough time when I graduated, and then I was fortunate to get into a big bank a few years later, and I was there for, gosh, 20, 25 years. And I feel like I had several careers within the organization, which was great when you're in a big organization. And so I just kept getting opportunities put in front of me, and I kept saying yes. And then through that, I just got very diverse experience and moved up the ladder. But it was just that it was such a great organization that I could really stretch my skills, learn about myself, and do bigger and better things. And so that was my journey into financial services. And then here I am at Meridian. I've been in Meridian for about 8 years. So
Wow.
yeah.
I want to ask you something here because, for everyone that is watching and listening this, especially aspiring, people in looking at the different careers that they want to get into, I want to be able to address one thing I think that's really fundamental. A lot of people will look at someone like you and they'll be like, oh, but she probably had all kinds of opportunities. She had all kinds of chances. She probably had all this confidence. And this is why she kept saying yes, because you said that when you got these opportunities, you kept saying yes. I want the reality to be known to people, because a lot of people don't make the decisions they need to make that they are worthy of. And these become missed opportunities because they don't say yes. Can you share a little bit, Dilys, about, when you said yes, did you feel confident that you can do this role? Or was there kind of this process that you personally had to go through where you're like, okay, this is a new challenge. I don't know that much about it, and this is what I did to combat it. I'd love for you to share the inside story there, because I feel people can see from the outside what you've accomplished, and people like you, what they've accomplished when they get to the heights that you have, but they don't actually really understand that you also are human, and you also have all of the, limiting beliefs and all of the other things that hold other people back. Can you share that little piece before we move on?
Yeah, I'm so glad you went there, because I think one of the things you wanted to also touch about on was, what would you have done differently, or what did you learn? And I think it ties into this question. So, there's a couple of things. No, I had confidence. I had confidence in myself to an extent. And I guess, everybody's different. And I tend to be, I don't want to say a risk taker, it's calculated risk, and say, can I do this? And if the organization has confidence in me, and that's kind of how I made decisions quite often, is if people are seeing something in me, then I must have it. I would not have necessarily put my hand up. So I would quite often make moves where, I had people around me saying, you can do this, and we think you can do it. And I'd be like, but I don't have this experience, and I haven't done this. And they're like, it doesn't matter. You have this, this, and this, right? You have relationship skills. You have the ability to learn new things. And so they would list off the things. And so with that, I'd have people around me that would say, yeah, I think you could do this. And the organization has confidence that you can do it. And then I would have a pit in my stomach. It was like a pit in my stomach. And I would just say, do it. Just do it. And that's my personality. Just do it and push through the fear. And so the first, I always joke about my little formula when I'd switch jobs, because every 2-3 years I'd changed roles. And I'd say the first 3 months I was in euphoria because I was so excited, but I didn't know anything. I was in the honeymoon stage. And then I would get from months 3 to 6, and I would be in sheer panic because I realized I knew nothing. And I realized how much I didn't know. But I pushed through it. And then by month 6 to 12, it started coming together. And then you hit a year, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. And between that year 1 and year 2, you start making a contribution at the level. But I would say to you, with the confidence thing, I reflected on this, is that if I looked back to say, what would I do differently? I didn't have confidence in myself to see myself at a certain level. I didn't think I could be an executive. Like, like that's just too big. How can I even dream it? And so I never dreamt big, and I didn't have confidence that I could be there. Where I looked at other people around me who said, "This is what I want. I want to be a senior vice president of this," and they were a senior manager at that time, right? And they said, "I want to do this, and I can do it." I never had that confidence to do it, and so for me, if I could rewind, I would have much more of a plan and say, what is it I want to do? And really, have that confidence that you can do it, and surround yourself with people that say, yes, you can do that. And then really work towards that plan versus I relied on other people to identify opportunities for me instead of me saying, this is going to help me get up. So, but that's building confidence, right? And I didn't have that level of confidence going way back.
Wow, but you had enough confidence to actually step into the unknown. And
yes.
I feel that that's the other part of this, is that people feel that it's all, things are always black and white. We make black and white decisions, but we don't. We make messy decisions. We make decisions that we don't fully know if they are the right decision. But like you said, you had this feeling, that pit feeling that told you that this is the right thing. And sometimes you have to go with that. And oftentimes it is the right decision, right? It's like we go, yeah.
I know, and I was going to say, and sometimes it wasn't. So, but I will tell you, isn't hindsight 2020? So yes. If you asked me, I don't know, 15 years ago, or whatever it was, what would you do differently? There was 2 roles that I took that I said I would not have done those. And I'll tell you what they were. One was in asset management. I knew nothing about it. And then the other one was in HR. Because when I looked back at my career, I said, had I stayed the route I was in commercial banking at the time, had I stayed, I think I would have been much higher. And I really regretted, I lamented it years after. But you fast forward to now, and those 2 roles were critical in me being here today. And so that experience that I gained in the job, I probably hated the most, the asset management side. I shouldn't say that now because it's I am so much more knowledgeable in this role. I'm in wealth management. I need to know that,
100%.
And I thought it took me out of play on my career trajectory, and it probably did, but who would have known if I could see the future? And then HR, taught me so much. I was 4 years in HR, and I learned so much about the businesses. I learned so much about kind of the other side of HR. It's not just about people focused. It's about helping business and employees and balancing it. And so both those together, the 2 jobs I would have said, not sure I would have done. And I look back and go, so glad I did them. So sometimes at the time when you're going through it, you go, oh, this didn't feel right, but you got to take that risk. It's not always going to work out. But I say this to my kids all the time, what's the worst that can happen? Right. What's the worst that can happen? Right. And I think you have to look at that. If you see it through and go, it really doesn't work out. If you're in an organization that supports you, and even if you're not,
right,
you can leave and you can find something.
Oh my gosh, I love everything about what you just said. And you're talking about leaving and finding something else. Why did you move from a traditional bank organization after all those years and move into a credit union opportunity? And the reason I want to ask you, that's part of the question. The other part of the question is, what's the difference between the 2? Because heck if many people know, because when we look at bank credit unions, a lot of people who are not educated in the financial realm, which is probably most of society, I'd love to have you answer that question too. So 2-part question. Why did you go from a bank to a credit union? And then what's the difference between the 2?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, the banks go through various restructures every single year, a couple times a year. And so my role was impacted. And so I, was in transition. And honestly, being a banker, I call when I was a banker snobs. Like I didn't know what a credit union was. Who knew, right? I thought very unique to certain cultures, or unions, and I didn't know. So I left my organization, and I didn't want to go into financial services, by the way. I'd been in it for 25 years. I said, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I went and rediscovered and kind of went on my own personal journey. And I said, I really love developing people and helping people. And so I got certified as an executive coach. And I started helping people through career transition. And I was on roster with a big HR firm. I started getting my own clients. And then, as the universe would have it, because I was always on LinkedIn, there was an opportunity in Meridian Credit Union, and they were looking for somebody that had retail, commercial, and wealth experience. And I had that. And a friend of mine had also started there 6 months previously. So it was just one of those where the universe came knocking really loudly. And I was just 6 months in my executive coaching career. And I thought, well, I don't know, there's something inside saying I should check this out. And so I checked it out. And lo and behold, here I am 8 years later. Now, I didn't know anything about credit unions. And so I had to learn. And so the real difference with credit unions is we are not publicly owned. We call our clients members, and our members own us. And so that is the fundamental difference. But other than that, product for product, we're like a bank. Right. We offer banking services. Anybody, and this was a big thing I didn't know about credit unions, anybody can become a member. So you just come in, open up an account, and we have wealth management, business banking, day-to-day mortgages, everything a bank has. The benefit of credit unions, because I've been here 8 years, truly is, obviously we're smaller, but we are so focused and we live and breathe the member client experience. We live and breathe that. And we really live by this whole notion of you have to do what's in the best interest of our members, always. Always. And so that is part of our DNA. And if you're not so inclined, you don't last. You don't last. If you're that kind of rat race and let's just look at profit and everything else, you're not going to last. And so that really fundamentally is the difference. It's really we're not publicly owned, we're member owned, and we give back our profits, a percentage of our profits back into the communities we serve.
Wow. And I want to touch base quite deeply on some of the, products and services that, you have. But before we go there, I feel like I need to ask you a finance 101 question. And this is what it is. Can you share what financial confidence is and what wealth health is? Because it's something that it's like that gray area that most people feel, I feel too dumb to have the courage to ask what that is, because I feel like I should know what it is. But because we don't ask that question, we fundamentally don't, optimize the opportunities that are in front of us. Share a little bit about that before we go into talking about the products and services at Meridian.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really just the confidence part I'd like to just talk to firstly is really about ensuring people are feeling confident about their own financial situation, and they have knowledge to be able to look at their own situation. They have knowledge about financial services and products out there to help them have a better life. And so the confidence piece, and the reason we're really focused on that, because and for me, really specifically as women, is because we know women have a lower confidence in their financial understanding. And so when we talk about financial confidence, we're just talking about, do you understand the basics? Do you understand, because 9 out of 10 women are going to have to manage their money at some point in their life. And do you understand, so let's say your partner goes in the hospital or he passes away, because we know that men pass away younger than or sooner than women. Yeah. And so do you have the ability to manage your bank accounts? Do you have the ability to look at your investments or talk to your investment advisor? And we're not saying when we talk about financial confidence that you have to get deep. There's a lot of things I don't know. And by the way, I have a financial advisor, just so you know, because I don't do it day to day, right? Right. So, but really the financial confidence is that there's so many Canadians that don't have basic understanding of how to budget. Right? How do you, if you're young and you're buying a house, you're going to university, how do I budget? What's a credit score? Why is that important? Why should I pay my credit cards off on time? So this financial confidence really all builds into understanding the basics or getting more and more advanced. But for us, it's really about making sure you understand at minimum the basics of, how to manage your money and just your day-to-day banking. Yeah.
Absolutely. So now let's talk about Meridian Credit Union. Can you share a bit about the story of the company? Let's start there, because people love a good story, and it's always wonderful to understand why it came about, because there's a reason why Meridian Credit Union is what it is today. Like, there's always that starting point. Share a little bit about that backstory.
Yeah, well, we've been around for 75 years, and that's a long time. And it was through amalgamations of several credit unions, and we have our roots in Niagara Credit Union. But it was through various amalgamations over the year that Meridian became who it is today. And so who Meridian is today is the #1 credit union in Ontario, and we have 30 billion in assets. That's a big credit union, because quite often when people see credit unions, they can be very small. We have about 100 branches, retail and business banking centers. And so when you compare them to, let's say, what people might think of a credit union where there's 2 or 3 branches, you see the size and scope. And we're #2 in Canada. So we are a big player financially. And so when you think of a credit union, I talk about our grassroots, we're all about community. Because how credit unions started, and they started culturally. There's different, Ukrainian credit union, Polish credit unions, and there are unions that had credit unions, steelworkers. And so that's how they started. But the grassroots of credit union is really their cooperatives, and they serve their community. And I want to just elaborate a little bit on this cooperative side. And this was, to me, the most wonderful aha moment for me when I came from banking, from a bank into a credit union. So I chair a wealth advisory committee for the credit unions across Canada. And so 25 of us get together twice a year, and we share information with each other. I get up and share with the smaller credit unions what I'm doing, giving them suggestions. We have networking, we share, we give information to each other. And I said, and I when I'm chairing this meeting, I'm saying, how awesome is this, that we can all sit in a room and we can share and help each other. And we're not competing with each other, and so that whole philosophy goes right into how we deal with other credit unions. And so it's a very, very different philosophy from, let's say, a bank, which is, they're having accountability shareholders, and shareholders first and foremost, right? Ours is very different.
I feel that the fundamental difference, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Dilys, is banks, as you mentioned, their responsibility are their shareholders, over and above their clients. And with credit unions, their shareholders are their clients. So their responsibility is #1 to their clients, or as you call them, your members. Yeah. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I would say that's right. I mean, I also don't want to diss the banks, right? I mean,
we're not here to do that.
Right, they're employees. They're focused on their shareholder, their employees, and their customers. But at the end of the day, they are there. They've got to watch that share price, and the decisions they make are going to be on that share price. The decisions we make is not on a share price. And we give that 4% back to community, right? So we are profit, we are for profit, but we're not accountable. Our profit is not accountable to a shareholder and a share price. And so that is a fundamental. So we can make decisions and create products and price quite often differently, because we're not ultimately looking at how's that impacting our share price.
Right. And that's a major reason for people to actually, ensure that they take credit unions seriously. Right. Yeah. I want to ask you, if a person, someone new that is now, finished university, let's use that example since you used that example earlier, and they're looking at opening an account with a financial institution, how do they know whether they need to go to a bank or a credit union? Is it an either or is it a both? Like, share that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that quite often you'll look at what products and offers, right, that you're looking for at a certain time. So if you're a student, I was going to say, if you're a student, you can get a student bank account anywhere, whether it's a bank or credit union. But when you graduate, you typically are, I got to pay off this debt. I need to save for a house. I need to buy a house. Oh, I want to have a family. And so you want an organization. At the end of the day, product is product is product. And we can all differentiate, on our products. And we have friends and family mortgages, which is really great, right? So that you know how hard it is right now. So, I mean, there are some really great things you can do based on your need. But I think at the end of the day, like everything, Raj, it's about relationship. You want somebody that's going to partner with you and be there for you. And here's a critical thing I've seen over and over, and I'm so proud to work for Meridian, is that during the hard times, will your financial institution be there for you when you've hit rock bottom? And we know people continue to lose jobs and through COVID. And so what is your financial institution going to do when you really need them? So it's great that they're there for you during the good times and when you have money, but you also want someone that's going to be there for you through the harder times. And I would say we have all sorts of programs for that, such that it's not black and white. And I've seen that we used to have a program, and it might be called something different, but it was called credit rejuvenation. So if somebody really had a rough ride and they went bankrupt and their score was down, we would rally around them and go, how can we help them? What credit can we give them to get their credit score back on? So I think,
love that.
This is where I really feel, I think shopping for products, some institutions have some really sexy, interesting products, right? But at the end of the day, it's relationship, I think, is really what do you stand for? And we have a new strategy called Meridian for Good. And I love that too. I love being associated with, we want to focus on good. We want to focus on, we talked about confidence. We want to focus on providing advice and money or capital to people who deserve it. And we're calling also equity deserving groups, who maybe groups that historically, like the Indigenous group, for example, or Black-owned businesses, who maybe couldn't get credit. And so we're focused on that. And the third piece is we're focused on climate, a clean, resilient climate for us. And so with those three components, it's great to be with an organization. And we talked about, the younger generation, the Gen Ys and Zs who are focused on purpose. Purpose now, right? And so I am again really proud to say I'm part of a purpose-driven organization. So when you look at a credit union, you look at Meridian, we're not accountable to shareholders, and our Meridian for Good strategy is focused on those three areas. So
and the things, absolutely, Dilys, the things that actually today matter in society and in the world, and that matter to everyone, that matter to people. And that's what's wonderful. You've already answered this through all the, different ways that you've answered my questions, but I want to bring it around full circle so people are very, very definitively clear. What is the Meridian mission?
So really our mission and vision is to help people have a better life. It is that simple, right? And we want Canadians and people to have a better life. And so how do you have a better life? In those three areas that I talked about is if we can provide capital to people who need it, and advice. And if we can build their confidence, and we can provide an environment where we're focused on climate, then that in effect is helping people have a better life. And that is really, it's so simple, but if you can do those things, then you really can help people have the life they want.
Absolutely. And that's the whole point at the end of the day. You've answered this question as well, but I would like to kind of regroup on it. What today do you deem to be Meridian's biggest success pertaining to servicing the consumer? And then I want to talk about the products.
Yeah, so I would say, I did touch on this and I'm going to repeat it because I think it's worth repeating. I think our biggest success is really the focus we put on our members. We really, we live it, we breathe it. And it's not just me saying that. When all financial institutions, and you're probably familiar with the net promoter scores that are out there, they evaluate likelihood to recommend. We are continually highest in the industry. And so, our members are telling us that. And so that is a huge indication that we are really focused on doing what's right for our members. And I would really say that's our biggest accomplishment, just being able to be that organization that walks the talk and really,
Yeah.
really delivers on it. And I want to add this piece. I'm just going to add it in because I hadn't before. We have a new CEO that came in. She's not new anymore, over a year, Jan Gilthway. And with Jan, we've now, created this new strategy, Meridian for Good. And it's so awesome to have a CEO, female CEO,
Yes.
and that is, just focused on doing good and being purpose driven. Yes.
That's the really interesting thing about women in leadership positions, is that because we are fundamentally, first and foremost, nurturers, that we can see the kind of bigger picture and how the different pieces of the puzzle come together. We look at success in a very different, defined way than, men traditionally do. So it's really interesting. Of course, it would take a woman to come up with a campaign like that. It's amazing, right? It would be a woman that would come up with a campaign like that.
Yeah. And it's really funny because one of my past colleagues, and he was a big 6'7", LGBTQ, and he was flamboyant and loud. And he always would say, and I so agreed with him, he said, our credit union values aligns with the feminine. And I went, oh, so right, because we believe, it's about being seen, it's about being heard, it's about meeting you where you are in your journey. And so all these attributes of the credit union of Meridian really align to the feminine values and what's important to women. So I thought that was such an interesting observation, and I think it's so true.
Absolutely. Let's talk now, Dilys, about the products, services, and initiatives that are going on throughout the rest of 2023. If there's anything that you feel is specifically of interest for the South Asian community as well, in and amongst all of that, let's chat a little bit about that. Let's educate people a little bit about what it is that Meridian Credit Union has to offer for the consumer.
Yeah. And I would say to you, without getting bogged down in products per se, is that consider Meridian when you're considering a bank, or as an alternative. We know that our service level is beyond. So that's number one, because again, product for product, we offer what the banks offer. We're developing a new to Canada, so this would be of interest to South Asian. So new to Canada offer as well. So that's in the works. And there is something that I wanted to highlight from a product perspective, and you and I talked briefly about this, and it's called our Class A share offer.
Yes.
And so what is Class A shares? So if you see any advertisements, it's all over the place right now. We're offering 6.5% dividend rate on a Class A share. And so to really simplify what this is, because when I was new to credit union 7 years ago, I didn't know what a Class A share was. So I thought, is it like a stock? Is it a common share? And so we're not publicly owned. When a credit union wants to raise capital, and this is for our Meridian for Good strategy, we will issue Class A shares. And minimum investment is $5,000. And I'm going to say, just to keep it really simple, it kind of operates like a GIC.
Okay.
So you have to keep it for 5 years, but if you needed to get out before then, you could transfer it, and we have wait lists of people who want to buy it. And every year you get the board will declare the rate, but it's at 6.5% every year is the dividend rate you will get.
Wow. How does that compare to the GIC? Let's just give people an understanding of this.
Yeah, well, I don't have the most recent GIC rates in front of me, but I can tell you it's higher. I would say it's higher than GIC rates that are out there right now. It is a phenomenal rate. And so you're investing in, a big company. We're solid, we're capital sound, capitalized. And so this is a really great alternative. So, South Asians are always looking for the best deal and the highest rate.
Yes.
Don't we? Of course. Doesn't everybody, but don't we? So I highly recommend people check this out. It's on our website, and we'll share that after, but it is called a Class A share, 6.5% dividend payment annually. And it's taxed in the same way as a GIC. So as interest. So definitely something we've just launched this, by the way, and this is why I'm highlighting it. We launched it about a few weeks ago. So it's in the market, and it will have a cap. When we hit a certain amount, then we shut it down. So it's not indefinite. So if you're interested, I would highly recommend people to go check out our website.
Absolutely. And who is this available to? Let's talk about geographical area. Let's talk about anything else
Yes.
people need to know in terms
Yes.
of guidelines.
Yes, it would be Ontario, and you don't have to be a Meridian member, but if you actually purchased a share, Class A shares, then you would become a member too, which is a bonus as well.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, so much for people to know. And folks, I do want you to know that in the captions, wherever you see this video across all of our various platforms, we will actually state the difference between a traditional GIC and these Class A shares, so that you can actually see what the difference is. Because I know you need to know that. Like I would want to know that. We want to dumb this down and keep things really, really, really simple. Let me ask you this question as well, because this is obviously very, very important for people. It's actually a two-pronged question. In our community of South Asians, buying a home is very important, and saving, actually three things: saving enough money to put our kids through higher education is important, and the third thing is retirement. Talk to me. What do we need to know?
Well, the number one thing is you need a financial advisor to walk you through that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going back to my comment I made before that I, the head of wealth, have a financial advisor, because it's like the poor man's kids, right? Shoemaker's kids. You just don't have time. You're busy focusing on everybody else. I don't have time to plan everything. And so having a financial advisor, and basically our focus always is to provide a financial plan. And that financial plan is a holistic financial plan. So we sit down in front of people and we understand what is it that you want to do. And so you were talking about buying a home, retirement, and what was the other one you had?
And saving up money to put our kids through higher education, which is not cheap.
No. And so it's so overwhelming doing this by yourself. I find it overwhelming. So I really think the number one thing people need to know is they need a financial plan. And so this is where I'm really going to do the big pitch, because we provide financial plans. And if you want to start saving, no matter of those three things, or you just want to plan for vacation, you want to know if you have enough, and you want to think about your life going forward, we will sit down and do a financial plan, whether it's saving, whether it's buying a house, or looking at your financial situation. We will sit down and provide a financial plan. So for me, number one thing is to get a financial advisor.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. Honestly, the question that you answered earlier on in our conversation, like what would you do differently? I'll tell you what I would do. What I would do differently is get someone that knows about money to help me understand money, help me diversify money, help me grow money. So I absolutely agree wholeheartedly, folks, with what Dilys is saying. This is fundamental. And it actually doesn't even matter what part of your journey that you're on. You could be like heading into retirement. You could actually be in retirement. If you don't have a financial plan and you don't have the kind of institution that is for the people, for the members, for their customers, then you need to really think about this. I have to say this because everything that I'm hearing, and everyone who is a part of my world knows that I'm a skeptic. They always know that I need to know why, what, when, how, the whole thing. You just answered all those questions for me, Dilys. I absolutely would recommend that people should first and foremost go have that conversation with someone at Meridian that can advise them and help them come up with a plan of what their intended goal may be, whether that's short term, medium term, or long term. I really, really do. I've learned so much chatting with you, Dilys, and I know that we're getting close to the end of this conversation. I feel that I want to kind of regroup back on maybe some aspirational elements. I want to ask you this. What has been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome, and have you overcome it? If you overcame it, how did you overcome it? And I want to say this and remind people that Dilys is South Asian. She's a South Asian woman, and she's in a position that is very rarely seen as a position that women feel that they can enter let alone being South Asian, and not just in Canada, in the world.
So now let me just ask you, personally or professionally, challenges?
I feel that I'd like to have one on both sides, because it's what makes us who we are, right? Like one without the other, right?
Yeah. So I would say, I talked about being a single mom of three, and personally, that was the challenge of a lifetime. Not being a single mom of three, although that's challenging, was going through a very long, drawn out divorce that was unnecessary, and our court systems are not set up to slow down the process. It's a money sucking, horrible experience.
Yeah.
And through that, I was raising three kids by myself. I had an executive position, and I went through a job transition. So that was like boom, boom, boom. And so, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so for me, again, hindsight, when we're going through really difficult times, we don't always realize what the rainbow is going to be on the other side. And now I'm on the other side, and I go, wow, that was all for purpose. Maybe it wasn't, it wasn't fun at the time, and there were things that you wouldn't wish on people. But at the end of the day, I really believe all things happen for a reason and for the greater good. And so the greater good, I'm on the other side now. And I really, as I was going through that, when I started, when Meridian offered me wealth management in 2018, I was still going through, my divorce, and I wanted to give back, and I had this aha moment of, when I talk about I have an advisor, I was an executive managing 16 branches, $12 billion district. And I was going through this divorce, and I was overwhelmed, and I didn't have time to stop and think about my finances and how to manage them effectively through all the change. And so when you fast forward, I was like, gee, if I felt that way and I had full access, I had 16 branches, I could have gone in any one. I didn't. I thought, I want to help women. I want to help women build their financial confidence, so that when any challenge in life hits, they'll be okay. They'll be okay. They'll know what to do. And again, the stats said, women will all have to manage money at some point in time. So I went on a personal mission and just started doing social media and started doing interviews. And then what's really exciting is I built it into our business strategy. So this is in my business strategy, building financial confidence with women. And I built a website. My team built a website on our wealth website called Her Sense. And we just have all these kind of interviews, which we'll post this one, by the way, too, just to help women really, become more confident in their financial ability.
Oh my gosh, look at that. And we've been talking about purpose, right? Like, what's a bigger purpose than that? You took something that was such a huge challenge in your life, and when it rains, it pours, right? And you were meant to go through that. I have to share this, like in Hinduism, everything happens for a reason. And whether it's the good, the bad, or the ugly, there's always a good from all three of those. That is so much greater. You just shared an example of exactly what that was. And that is incredible. I love everything about that. I feel like that the next question I have for you as we get ready to close out is one that you've already answered again, but I want to be able to encapsulate it. Looking back, Dilys, what do you consider to be a huge, maybe the biggest success in your professional journey? Let's go there.
Yeah. So I would say the role I'm in now. So in 2018, Meridian approached me and said, we would like you to run our wealth management business, write a 5-year strategy, and triple this business. And I'm like,
only that.
And I didn't even have deep wealth experience. I had done a few wealth jobs in my previous life, and I didn't even love wealth. I was like, really? It's kind of complex. And I don't know. I was not passionate about it. I was on the retail side at the bank beforehand. And, but I closed my eyes and jumped. I went, okay, you have confidence that I can do this. And it was a lot of hard work. The first 18 months, first 2 years, it was so much hard work, and constantly it takes a hit on your confidence. And am I making the right decisions? But here I am later, we're $1 billion business. We're now over 4 billion. I had 30 people working in my group. I have about 110 working in my group now. And we built so much around helping people through a financial plan. So for me, this is definitely, and here's the thing, when I said sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't, I was like, I don't think I want to do this. I'm not really excited about this opportunity, but okay, I'll do it. And all things happen for a reason. I look back now, it's the best thing I ever did. And it's so fulfilling and rewarding. So,
Oh my gosh.
mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. There's just so much to be said about that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's I want to ask you this before we close off. What would you like to say to aspiring South Asian women, which obviously is going to be, general to women as well, who are looking to forge a career in finance? What do they need to know?
Well, I think that South Asian women just have it all together, really, and they should be considering it. I mean, honestly, anybody can get into financial services. Assuming you've gone to school, it doesn't even have to be in business or economics. And I say this all the time. We can teach skill, we can't teach attitude. And so I would say to women and South Asian women, definitely now's your time. South Asian women, now is your time, and it's about time, right? And women in general, like just do it. The wealth management aspect of financial services, especially, is dying for women. I am dying to hire women. I want women to come into wealth management. So there is such a need. And I'm talking specifically in wealth management because it has been predominantly a male dominated business. And so even more reason to consider going into financial services. And don't be intimidated. This is one thing I hear from women, so I want to clarify it. Don't worry, I'm not good at math. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at numbers. You know what? Don't worry about that. It doesn't matter. If you have the capability, we can teach the skill. You don't have to be a math whiz, or a business whiz to come into it. And quite often, our women are the best advisors because they take the time to listen and understand. So I really want to highly encourage women to just take the leap and look at it as an option for a career.
Oh my God, I love it. Where are we sending everyone to go find out about the Class A shares, to be able to see, where there is a Meridian Credit Union branch close to them so that they can go and book that appointment with an advisor? Share that with us, please.
Yeah, everything is on our website, meridiancu.ca. Class A shares will prominently pop up because it's in market right now. If you want to check out anything on wealth, if you want an advisor, you can go on the wealth website. If you just want to go into a branch, you can go into the retail looking for a branch and you can meet with an advisor. And we also do it virtually. So you do not have to get out of your house if you don't want to. Sometimes I like virtual, right? So if you want to, we give that option, whether it's wealth or on the retail side, you can actually phone our contact center or phone our wealth advice center, and we're happy to serve you virtually as well.
Thank you. What a pleasure you are, Dilys. Like such a role model for our women, for women in general, and heck, for financial experts in general. Thank you for agreeing to come on and share your incredible journey and the Meridian opportunities for our community here. I am so happy that you took the time to kind of really step by step take us through the things that really need to be important in our lives, even if we're not looking at them as being important. Thank you so much for, just giving us your wealth of, insights into why financial confidence is important.
Well, thank you, Raj. I mean, it's always fun chatting with you. We could go on for hours.
I'm telling you, I had to really kind of think, okay, what are the questions I need to ask Dilys? Because I know there's so much more I want to actually ask you.
No, I really appreciate the time and the conversation today. I think that, the more of these conversations we have, the better, and we will help so many people. Absolutely.
Guys, I encourage everyone watching and listening to seriously consider Meridian Credit Union opportunities. You just heard why. It's going to help you optimize your wealth health. It's also going to help you optimize your wealth confidence through the various offerings. And, like at the end of the day, if you don't know, the 101 on, you know, why financial understanding and being in charge of your finances is important, go book that appointment with a wealth advisor. I really encourage it. And I'll see you next week for another insightful edition of the Anoki Uncensored Show. Bye for now, guys.